Yeah, so I started One Piece.
Yo!
No, not that One Piece. Not that either. That One Piece. I avoided One Piece for years, and now I think I finally understand why people never shut up about it. Well, that's not entirely true. My relationship with One Piece is complicated. While it is true I haven't properly read the series until recently, over the past few years, I've had this fascination with it. What started as me disliking its bizarre art style as a kid soon became something more. I'd watch discussion videos, theories, breakdowns. For years, I existed on the outside, a passive observer, overhearing the adventures and the accolades of the Straw Hats and their captain, Monkey D. Luffy, as though they were legends whispering around the campfire, figures who live somewhere between myth and reality. Like a sea shanty, ever so often stirring the pot by saying Shanks would absolutely destroy that fraud Mihawk. No, I'm serious. Agenda Piece is one of the best things ever, even better than Lobotomy Kaisen. Enjoying the memes, watching the movies, playing the video games. I remember the first time One Piece really clicked for me as a story. It wasn't the manga or the anime that did it. No, it was engaging gameplay aside, the first Pirate Warriors is less Muso and more of a straight-up adventure game that retells the One Piece story up to Marineford in a quite accurate, at least from what I can surmise, and engaging way with these fantastic CGI cutscenes that still hold up, honestly. But the point is, I'd always been an outsider, afraid to reach into that world, to open that door and fully commit to that time sink. And then I decided, might as well. Now, I haven't fully caught up. God no. I'm still sailing through the East Blue. And that's what I want to talk about today. The East Blue is undoubtedly super nostalgic for a lot of One Piece fans, and I could see why. It feels so simple. From that first chapter that builds that intrigue and introduces the Great Pirate Era, we're introduced to people like Shanks, who's already propped up to be a height of power seemingly unobtainable, for now anyway. Flexing his pure power on a giant sea monster and shrugging off the fact that his arm just got bit off like a boss before bestowing that legendary straw hat to Luffy. The first chapter is incredibly strong. It paints One Piece as a somewhat lighthearted adventure, and it establishes Luffy as this carefree spirit, brimming with confidence that's admirable. It slots perfectly in the middle of the big three, and its juxtaposition to its brothers cannot be understated. While Naruto's first chapter establishes Naruto is a story about hope from the eyes of an outcast, and Bleach being a grounded story about responsibility and the weight that carries, One Piece establishes that it's a story about being truly free in the face of all odds. That being said, it does take some time for the story to get going, to find its footing, for the world to open up. But in the same breath, that wait wasn't too long in hindsight. To me, Oda really gets in his bag during the Baratie arc. Now, don't get me wrong, the arcs that came before it aren't bad. In fact, one of my favorite moments so far comes from Syrup Village, when Usopp, as a kid, is talking to his sick mother and he breaks down in tears saying he wants to dream too, because he's the son of a pirate. Genuinely, that panel almost moved me to tears. And Kuro was a truly scary villain at the time, and that fight with him and Luffy was honestly really amazing. But on that note of villains, both Kuro and Buggy pale in comparison to the monster that is Don Krieg and the emotional storytelling between Sanji and Zeff. Literally, my jaw hit the floor when it's revealed that Zeff gave Sanji all his food because he ate his own leg to survive when the two were stranded on a deserted island. Baratie is such a leap forward in storytelling. The plot feels stronger, more engaging than it's ever been up to this point. The side characters are layered and memorable, and the introduction of a new crew member is handled with real emotional weight. While Zoro, Nami, and Usopp all joined without any kind of pushback, it's hard for Sanji to just leave. The Baratie and his relationship with Zeff is part of his identity. The antagonist feels like a serious threat, and the introduction of fucking Dracula Mihawk and the way he destroys Zoro with such finesse and ease, my goodness. Every element of this arc feels refined and elevated. It's the moment where the series truly finds its stride and shows what it's capable of. Now, take everything I just said and apply that to Arlong Park and turn it up to 11, because oh my god. I thought the Baratier was a trip. I wasn't prepared for Arlong Park. What's an arc? Every single detail had my attention, from Nami's betrayal to the truly sinister presence of Arlong himself holding the entire village captive. This arc was an emotional roller coaster. From Nami's plea for Luffy to help finally letting down her walls as she's at the end of her rope, stabbing into her tattoo as Luffy sets his straw hat, the embodiment of his dreams, his soul, the memory of that fateful day with Shanks, the promise to become Pirate King, all now entrusted with Nami, in a way giving her the same comfort Shanks did for him the day he placed that straw hat on his head. I was tearing up. And then that beautiful page with the crew all ready to go fight Arlong? And that final confrontation inside the chart room, where Arlong taunts Luffy, asking whether he could use Nami as well as he can. That moment, Luffy hears Nami reduced to a tool, his playful aura vanishes. When he notices the bloodied pen, the symbol of Nami's forced labor, he understands what this room is truly about. It's the monument of Nami's stolen childhood and her suffering. And in that moment, Luffy does what he does best. He tears down that very system that oppressed Nami for years, reducing the chart room to rubble and defeating Arlong in the process, giving Nami the same thing he gave to Zoro, Usopp, and Sanji before her: true freedom.
Nami, you'll always be my friend!
So it's safe to say I'm enjoying One Piece so far. While it can be a bit wordy at times and somewhat cluttered, it's a very fun series. And despite knowing quite a bit of what's to come, I'm still eagerly anticipating the journey ahead. But before I end this video, I just want to talk about another piece of One Piece that I really love. Two pieces in fact. One Piece Movie 6 and One Piece Film Gold. Now, Movie 6 is incredible. I'm going to be candid here. Watch this movie, even if you're not a One Piece fan. If you're just a fan of good movies, this movie is fantastic. The story is great, the characters are great, the cinematography is great, the coloring, everything about this movie is fantastic. As for Film Gold, this one is probably going to make a little bit more sense to you if you are a One Piece fan, but I would still recommend watching it. Anyway, this movie is incredible, and Gold Tezero is one of my favorite One Piece villains so far. Like, oh my god, I don't think there'll ever be a villain as good as him. For me at least, in my read of One Piece. His story is so compelling, his design is amazing, his powers are incredible. One Piece Film Gold is a trip. But if I had to sum One Piece up, I'd use a quote from Usopp. Luffy and those guys live like there's no tomorrow. That's why they can laugh so hardly. If you enjoyed anything I had to say today, please leave a like and subscribe. It greatly helps out the channel. And if you want to take that support a step further, please check out any of my referral links. If you want some cool anime merch or a new pair of glasses, hey, use them. I get some money, you get some money.